People are beginning to worry about the Walt Disney Company, and for good reason. Everything seems to be going down, down, down. And poor Disney, they are not making decisions to go up, up, up. So what will happen? What's up? What's going on with the mouse? Well, we're here with answers, and we've got a huge rumor that I had a couple weeks ago regarding Luke Skywalker, Star Wars. And we're about to show you that it was right in 3, 2, 1. And welcome back, folks. It's another great day to explain entertainment, keep you ahead of the culture curve. It is the modus operandi here on the WDW Pro channel. It's what we do each and every day. We love it. We enjoy it. It is our great joy and pleasure to share our time with you. Sharing time with us today is Jonas J. Campbell of That Park Place and Everything Woke Of. Jonas, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. This is my favorite kind of video on the Pro channel.
Are you feeling especially woke-ified today, Jonas?
I hope not. I hope to be asleep in a little while, actually. The opposite of wake isn't asleep, but it's ironic that the term means having your eyes opened. But well, I suppose
perhaps it does not. Perhaps that's the trick of it, eh?
That's right. It's when you wake up in a dream and then you realize that it's actually another level of the dream.
Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we're back in Inception again and nothing makes sense. Well, folks, something that does make sense is if you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. You can stick it to those algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. Drop a comment down below and let's get into this because we are answering questions from the members today. Before we do, we've got a major rumor. I guess you can call it a leak now that I had a couple of weeks ago talking about how Luke Skywalker had been cobwebbed. That's the quote that came to us from one of our most highly placed sources out there. Kudos and honors to that source for getting this one right. Take a looky here, folks, straight off of Twitter. This from Elsa Christina C. says, so Luke was in Jabba's palace talking to Boba in the Book of Boba Fett show. So they met and talked. I want to see that scene. I want to hear that talk. Because how in the world did Luke know where to send Grogu in episode 7? Oh, wait, because he was there on Tatooine. Why didn't they put this scene in the show? And looky, 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 what do we have? That's right, folks. We have very expensive footage because it's always expensive to put photorealistic Luke Skywalker into something. We have very expensive footage, and we have Mark Hamill on the set. We have the stills, and if we go down, there's even more. We've got test footage there. We've got all kinds of stuff. Let's take a closer look at this so you all can see.
Oh, my.
Luke Skywalker in the palace of Jabba, now of Boba Fett. They did not use this footage. They did not use Luke Skywalker there. Why? Because just like I said before, Luke Skywalker was determined to be a cobwebbed character. He is determined to be a legacy character who is relegated to cameos at best, and getting him in a single episode was just about too much already for Kathleen Kennedy and the rest of the Lucasfilm crew. Credit to Elsa Christina C. for getting that out there. Credit to viewers for bringing this to my attention. We love our viewers, we love our members, and we love the information, the leaks, the sources, and the cues from you that they send us. So let's dive in now that we have validated yet another one. Put it on the tally board again. But let's go on to the cues from you. These are questions sent to us from members of the channel. This is one of the perks of being a Tier 2 and higher member. And we love getting these questions. We trust our members to guide this channel. Take the steering wheel for a bit and issue us the questions that need to be answered. Jonas, take it away, sir.
Absolutely. Maverick Pilgrim commented or questioned, in light of the major issues that Marvel is having along with the writer's strike, could a shakeup in movie announcements be turned into a win for Marvel? If they pivot from the Kang-centric direction and move towards a Fantastic Four/Doom or X-Men leaning slate of movies and keep it faithful, could this Phase 5 or 6 recapture the magic? Or the MCU era truly done? Or is the MCU truly done? Or is there a different scenario where this next phase becomes a win? That's
Jonas, I've been talking for a little bit. Take it away. Give us your first thoughts on it.
It's a really good question, and I think that's kind of where
Of course it is. These are our members, Jonas. They only ask the best questions.
It is true, and Maverick Pilgrim's a great member as well. I think that they're probably primed to make some changes in Kang, or maybe revisit him later, maybe in a Terrence Howard / Don Cheadle situation down the road. That's not a scoop. That's me making a guess. Fantastic Four, I think they're going to struggle a bit with that if they don't stick the landing. But Doctor Doom and the X-Men, I mean, there's so much there to mine. Wolverine has been a great character for a very long time. He was Marvel's bread and butter for about 10 years, a running gag that Wolverine appeared on more comic book covers than he was in the comics themselves. So, yeah, if they can get into that era, that is A+ Marvel territory. They have a Spider-Man on their hands that they're refusing to use. Why are they refusing to use it?
Pilgrim, you are proof indeed that members of this channel know exactly the right questions to ask. And let me say that in one of the oddest situations you can imagine, it is better for Marvel each day that this writer's strike continues, because it forces Marvel to now have to expedite the return of their big franchises and characters, and they will not have time to piddle about with these Z-tier characters like Agatha and her Coven of Darkness or whatever it is. They will need to go to the X-Men. They will need to go to Fantastic Four and to the Avengers to reinvigorate the entire franchise. And it also, while the writers are gone, it gets those Rick and Morty writers like Michael Walden out of the headquarters for a little bit. So hopefully sharper, cooler, smarter heads can prevail in realizing that it's time to bring back the heroes and bring them back in the way that they are presented in the source material. Maverick Pilgrim, you are on the absolute right track with this question.
All right, now let's move on to James Bunk, the wonderful.
Who is not Bunk, by the way.
That's right. Do you think that the issue with Disney's bonds could have been linked to the sudden firing of Bob Chapek?
All right, let me take this one first. Then we'll hand it over to Jonas. Answer to that, no, I do not think that the bonds had anything to do with the firing of Bob Chapek, although that is quite the intuition you have there. And continue with that. Continue trying to connect those dots, because you're going to stumble upon some big stuff if you keep doing that and asking these sorts of questions. The reason that I don't think the bonds came up in the firing of Bob Chapek is because those bonds have existed for decades. They've been issuing these bonds, these municipal government bonds out of the Reedy Creek Improvement District, that being a government entity that was supposed to be completely and wholly separate from the Walt Disney Company, but apparently was not. And boy, does that bring forth some major issues for the company now that Robert Iger seems to be clearly stating that they were one and the same. But those bonds have been issued for decades, and no CEO has been called to task for it. And at the same time, we are hearing from, again, another one of our highest placed sources that Disney execs apparently do not fear this issue, because they believe that if the state of Florida goes after the bonds, that it's a big enough deal that it would sink both Disney and Florida tourism. And therefore, Disney believes that the threat of mutual destruction is enough to hold the state at bay. But in fashion that probably was not seen coming by Disney, but should have been, the state of Florida is now going after even things like the monorail system at Disney. Check out the most recent article about the monorails over on That Park Place that I did, thatparkplace.com, and you'll see that even I now think that the state of Florida went a little too far with the monorail situation, the new legislation. And even I am trying to call balls and strikes when it comes to Florida, comes to Disney. Disney needs to play by the rules of everybody else. But when it comes to the monorail thing, maybe a little bit too far. In terms of the bonds, though, those are hugely problematic, majorly into the realm of dubiousness. However, perhaps Disney is right here and the state will not go after it simply because it would be devastating to both sides.
All right. And my answer is no. Rob Weisenhunt, do you think that the legacy pay scale that Lucas fought for in the Disney sale in any way contributed to the disgrace and disposal of classic characters? My goodness, that would be so stupid of them if that was the reason why. I think that it's primarily because the person that they put in charge of Lucasfilm is Kathleen Kennedy. close to greatness and just enough clout to get the job. And my goodness, everything that we've seen out of her has just been a bad call.
Another fantastic question, Rob. And my answer to this comes straight from a major source connected with Lucasfilm. The answer to this question is simply no. And the reason being, this source tells me that despite whatever may be in the contract, whatever may be believed out there in the blogosphere, that this is largely a YouTube issue. This, by the way, this surprised me, this answer, but I trust this source enough to go with this surprising answer, which may surprise all of you. Apparently, it's really not a big deal when it comes to the legacy pay scale, and it doesn't often come up at Lucasfilm at all. Now, that may go contrary to the narrative that we hear often from our friends and those in our orbit, and even what I believed up until perhaps 1 or 2 months ago. But according to the source, who I really trust, this does not come up, and I'll go with what they say on it. I believe them.
Liam Lionheart says, I used to be blinded to the truth, 100% shrill. I think, do you mean chill? Now, Hugh and others, I'm now 4%. I want to thank you. Well, I'm glad that we can bring sight to the blind. Let's hope it's not the blind leading the blind.
Blinded by the truth.
Oh, man. Great song.
Hey, you know, sometime we need to do a video where we explain the difference in shills and trolls. That would be a lot of fun. Maybe that's on the horizon. We've got another one. This is an actual question from Liam. Go ahead with this one.
Yes. Outside of the Disney issue, what are the chances of Alex Kurtzman? I see what you did there. Not producing any more Star Trek shows. I know the other issue of Secret Hideout having a longer contract. Will Paramount tear up the contract?
Jonas, this one is all yours. You are the expert in this area. You've been doing some digging. What do you have on it?
Well, Kurtzman's got it for a while. He's got it for longer than it would be practical to track. I think towards the end of this decade, he's still good with Star Trek. Also,
aren't you just filled with rainbows and sunshine today?
What?
Would you just stomp on the hearts of Star Trek fans? How dare you, sir? How dare you?
Oh, and I bet Kurtzman is hard at work scabbing for himself during the writer's strike as he writes his Section 31 movie that he's been
Senor Scabbage
trying to make for so long.
Are you saying that Kurtzman eats a daily dose of scabbage stew?
Ew. Oh, that's a horrible image.
But it has lots of iron. All right. I kid.
So here's the deal with Picard Season 3. Anything that came out of Picard Season 3 is under the Secret Hideout deal. So if they were to pick up any of those new characters and put them in another show, the straightforward legal aspect of it is that you can't use Jack Crusher. I'm going to say the proper name, Jack Crusher. You can't use Sidney LaForge. You can't use any of those characters without paying Secret Hideout. And I don't think that you can keep using Terry Metalis, whose contract was also through Secret Hideout, without paying Secret Hideout. So they would have to buy him out. They wouldn't have to tear up the contract. They would have to buy out the contract, which Star Trek's numbers are good. Picard's numbers are good. I don't think they're that good. So,
well said. I can't add anything else to that. I've already done Scabbage Stew, and that was a step too far.
Ooh, Indie Phantom says, not so sure The Little Mermaid will be another misfire from Disney financially because Disney has done well with their live-action remakes, at least when they include the music. I think this is ripe for repeat viewings in that sing-along capacity. Now, the running time and some of the controversy might still hurt, but I totally see this as their likeliest to hit 1 billion, and that Indy 5 will be left in the dust. Current thoughts? You know, that is not an uneducated take right there. If Disney is going to make 1 billion, I think the autopilot aspect of putting another live action remake out there might get this film the closest to 1 billion that we've seen for Disney in a long time. Will it be profitable? I mean, if it makes $1 billion, yes, somebody will have made money. And also, Beauty and the Beast, great reference, is the live action remake with Dan Stevens and Emma, the former actress. What's her name? Emma Watson. Those movies, autopilot billion, they sailed into the top 10 of all-time highest grossing films. I don't know that this one is going to be able to do that. People will have to have a hunger to go to the theater specifically for this movie. And my kids still want to see Super Mario Brothers in the theaters. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that I don't think this will be enough to lure them in. Get it? Fish reference.
I get it. I get it. Now, Indie Phantom, every time I see you post a comment or a question, I get excited, and this is no different to me. I agree with you that Indy 5 could be left in the dust by many films, but The Little Mermaid, given the latest information we have, is not looking to go so well. In fact, Flounder may be swim bladder up very soon. Let's go now to the evidence thereof. Out of ScreenRant, this by Brennan Klein, May 4th, this being the most recent stuff we have on it. Little Mermaid remake to equal originals $111 million US total on opening weekend. Now, you'll notice that this title is meant to make you think that this is impressive, that this new Little Mermaid is going to make as much money in the single weekend as the original animated version did in its full domestic run. The only problem there, of course, is inflation, which renders this entire point moot. But the article is not positive. It's only the title. They're trying to bury the negativity. Let's get down here to where the real title must be. The Little Mermaid still isn't quite reaching the level of Disney's other blockbuster remakes, and here's the real truth that we have on it. While The Little Mermaid prepares to blow its predecessor out of the water, yeah, right, it still can't quite compare to Disney's biggest live-action remakes of the recent past at the very least. It's more or less matching 2019's Aladdin, which also opened over Memorial Day weekend. That title took in a 4-day opening gross of 116, which is well within the realm of the new film's projections. By the way, it's at 111 and dropping. We don't know how far it's going to drop. But the other issue for this film, take a look at this. Beauty and the Beast was 174. Lion King was 191. This film is at 111 again and dropping, going down towards 100. Could it go lower? We don't know. But if you're going to do a remake of any of the animated feature films, it's well known that the most expensive one you could do would be The Little Mermaid, because you have to do an immense amount of CGI, special effects, tethering, etc., with all of the underwater scenes. By the way, they look bad. They look really bad.
Really bad.
And so this film will take a ton of money to reach profitability, which means, Indie Phantom, that although this film may make 600 to 700 million worldwide, and we don't know, perhaps it will hit the billion. I don't think so. Everything I'm looking at is pointing in the opposite direction. But if it reaches 600, 700 million dollars, it still may not make a profit. The budget is immense, and this has been the problem with Disney. Like a bloated fish on the side of the beach. Their films are just too big, and they do not have the sweet aroma to draw audiences in. And I think that parents have gotten a little wise to Disney, and they're not so eager to take their little girls to see Ariel. They're cautious. I think everything's on the table if this comes out and truly the reviews are good. I will go see it. I'll give my objective, subjective take on it. That's a joke, folks. I'll try to get it as honest as I can be, but I know that I'm a person with opinions, and we all have different opinions. But I'll give my honest take. If it's a fantastic film, all bets are off. It could do great. But if it comes out, and if it is too long, if it's too much, if it is filled with sociopolitical messaging, or if it's the exact opposite, if it plays it too safe with that kind of a runtime where it's just paint by numbers, then this film could be absolutely belly up.
It also stretches the definition of a live action remake when less than 2% of any frame is not CGI.
That's right. Exactly, Jonas.
Rod Thunderheart. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Rod Thunderheart. What are
Thunder.
I heard James Lipton wrote that. That's amazing to me. What are the chances of Lucasfilm being sold back to George? Ooh, slim to none. And I think it might have happened in a dream once, where we finally got Jason and Jaina solo in a sequel movie. Oh, but Rod, will you hate us if we give you an answer that you don't want? It's as close to zero as zero can be. So, apologies. I know you would like to have something more exciting to hear from us, and we wish we could give you that, but Disney has that sucker planted in both of their domestic parks in primo real estate.
they're beholden to this thing. They are tied to it, and they're not going to let it go unless they absolutely have to, and that would be a long time in the future. So,
Yeah, but thank you very much for the question. We appreciate you very
and
much.
we're sorry. We wish we could give you the best,
Yep.
but we give you the truth, and that is our best.
Yep. Discrepto, is there in Hollywood any creator, company, or the likes that celebrates the fandom or thanks the fans seriously?
Yes, Nintendo and apparently Illumination.
Yes, very true. Or Eric July, I think he does that as well. Nowadays,
Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is out there thanking the audience and celebrating the fans.
He's got to write off that fighter jet he bought somehow.
Chris Pratt is out there. Jack Black. They're both out there celebrating the fans every chance they get.
Yep. Nowadays, I see Western media and how they treat the fandom and remember a quote from a game producer. Without the fans, we are nothing. And this comes from someone that saved a huge franchise and a whole company, Final Fantasy.
Absolutely.
And I just, Final Fantasy, for me, if they just keep pumping out Nobuo Uematsu tracks, then I will be happy forever.
You know what? I want to thank Discrepto as well, because he set us up for a very good moment there. We have to be critical of Disney, and we cover Disney quite a bit because they were the biggest kid on the block. That's becoming a little bit debatable now, but they've been making mistake after mistake after mistake, and we cover that over and over and over. So I really appreciate Discrepto giving us the ability where he says, is there anybody out there celebrating the fandom, thanking the fans seriously? And we're like, oh yeah, there's a ton of them. Here we go. Here's the list. And we just start naming them off. And, that's the happy stuff that we want to get to cover more and more. Disney they got to stop screwing up so badly that it's a video every day or 2 videos every day. Come on, Disney. Help us out.
Hogwarts Legacy, that's going to be getting on the Switch soon. That's good news.
Oh, actually, that's been delayed.
Oh, sorry. I guess I was reminded of it and then I forgot. Yeah.
Thanksgiving now, folks. If you want to play Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch, it's not coming until Thanksgiving. Ouch.
Just in time for Christmas. Death Scythe. Wow. I'm going to answer your question as seriously as I can. Okay, a serious question. Pineapple on pizza, yay or nay?
Jonas, dive into this labyrinth of problems first. The internet will decimate you if you go one way or the other. 50% are on one side, 50% on the other. Where land you?
So here's the thing: pineapple is not appropriate for every pizza, and it has to be well integrated. There are certain acidic qualities to pineapple that go really well with meats. It has to be a meat pizza and good pineapple. And in that case, yes to quality pineapple paired with the appropriate ingredients. Now that being said, just sprinkling pineapple on your random Hungry Howie's, let's do a school pizza party thing. No, that's disgusting. I don't want that.
Absolutely. On Hawaiian pizza, I'll go for it. And when I say Hawaiian pizza, I'm talking about chicken, ham, onions, maybe some bacon, and definitely jalapenos. When you've got that, pineapple can go there. But on just a regular pepperoni, on just a regular veggie, no. What are you doing? It goes there no better than grapes would go there. Neither belong on a pizza that's just normal, but on Hawaiian pizza, how could you not?
Pro, have you ever paired guacamole and then had pineapple and then gone back to the guac? It's a wonderful combination, playing off each other. Oh, super, super amazing.
I have never heard of that. I will not judge you until I've tried it.
Yeah.
But if it goes poorly, you are in big trouble if this
Get yourself a nacho, dip out some of that guacamole. You got the salt of the nacho and the fat from the avocado on there. I should have said tortilla chip.
I mean, I've heard of people doing pineapple and cottage cheese, so maybe it's kind of similar, but not dairy.
No. This is different. It's the fat of the avocado and the tart of the pineapple. It's perfect.
All right, folks, let's all try it. And if it's a giant prank that Jonas is pulling on us, we'll have his comeuppance waiting. Don't worry.
And here we have Tony or Tommy Table.
No, it's definitely Tony now. He's stuck with it.
He's stuck like a chair under the table. I can't make a reference here. Speaking of Chapek, why has he been so quiet? Surely he didn't sign an NDA after getting fired, unless it was part of a hasty severance package. Actually, if you look at how much money Bob Chapek made on the way out, which is in SEC filings, I think he made north of $40 million or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's got a solid NDA, and he's got no reason to talk for now. Who knows if he might write a book in the real Ride of a Lifetime by Bob Chapek. I would read it, but he's not going to make nearly as much as he made just losing the job at Disney.
When you look at how much that man made taking the position, and then 8 months later, how much he made leaving the position, he is laughing all the way to his own personal archipelago that he now owns. The man is tremendously wealthy. Yes, he had to put up with the crazies, and he had to put up with Robert Iger and his stalwart defense of his legacy now coming back and destroying it. But Chapek is somewhere drinking out of a tiny umbrella, and that tiny umbrella was delivered to him by a servant who probably has servants. Bob Chapek is enjoying the good life right now. Will he come back and work somewhere else? He could, but he doesn't have to. He's got that kind of money. Will he talk? Yeah, I'm sure he will one day, but he doesn't have to. He's already won the big prize.
Especially if you look dollar for dollar, month to month. Oh, man, he's probably one of the highest paid employees Disney has ever had.
All right. It's insane. Disney, the amount of money they spent to hire him, fire him, I can't imagine. There's no way that there's no mathematician out there who could make that work out, that the money spent was efficient and worthwhile to get rid of him. There's no way possible, especially given what we've seen now out of 2 straight horrible meetings with Robert Iger on the phone.
And on top of that, the money to rehire Iger again, he got a pretty big paycheck coming back, even though he never left.
It cost a lot to bring back Bob Iger.
Yeah.
And we're getting so little out of it.
Duncan Craig, I have an interesting thought given the USA political leanings currently and Disney's own ideology. Have characters like Captain America and Tony Stark become persona non grata given their origins in nationalism and capitalism? It would certainly seem to fit the Californian narrative and the left's agenda. Oh, I have so much to say on this.
Well, let's get to you second then, and then you can wrap us up on the end of this. But one, when it comes to Captain America, yes, they are going to use that character as a vehicle for their own beliefs. I don't think it will go well. We have a movie coming out next year, supposedly. We'll see what happens with the writer's strike. But I don't think that's going to be highly successful with audiences. Audiences want the Captain America that they have known, and that Captain America will not be on the screen. When it comes to Tony Stark, they've screwed up so badly that Robert Downey Jr. doesn't want to come back, even for a multiverse movie where he would be playing a different version of Tony Stark. He doesn't want to come back. He doesn't want to play ball with them because they have lost their focus. They have lost the objective, and the objective was to entertain as many fans as possible. RDJ still wants to do that. Marvel seems to not. All right, Jonas.
Captain America, I agree with you wholeheartedly on Captain America. There's nothing more to be said about that. And I think if Chris Evans came back to the role, he would want to make commentary about America a part of his return to the role. Tony Stark, the character of Tony Stark, Stan Lee always liked to say that you take during the Vietnam War and you create a character that is an unlikable guy, a guy who was part of the military industrial complex during the Vietnam War, and you make him into a hero. The idea of this has completely been lost at Disney right now. They could take, I struggle to think of the person that they would want to put forward as their villain who needs to be reformed, as the guy who is actually likable, who is humbled and becomes a hero that everyone can identify with. I don't think they have the people at the company who have the perspective to take someone that they see as a villain and turn them into a good person without putting way too much ideology in it. The fact that I have,
they had Doomcock essentially. They had Doomcock essentially in She-Hulk. So maybe that's the next play for Marvel. Maybe Doomcock, indeed, from Overlord DVD, will be the next Marvel superhero as Disney redeems him somehow from their perceived belief that he is a net negative on the net.
Right, and they turned him into a tech bro, and that's a misunderstanding of who Overlord DBD is.
Absolutely. Quite the singer, too, by the way.
He is. I mean, have you heard the guy do Sinatra?
And great impressions as well. Love his Hank Hill. Jonas, final thoughts on the questions we had today.
Yet again, this is my favorite thing to do. You don't have the pressure of a live stream where you got to move on to the next thing. You just get to savor in the contemplation of what people want to talk about. I might throw a question in there because guess what? I am actually a member. So if I want to pick the topic for one of your videos, maybe I should submit a question.
Well, you could do that. And folks, if you want to participate in this is open to all Tier 2 and above members. That entry level, that's only $3. This doesn't get you in to be able to send in these questions, but the level up does. And if you want to just test out becoming a member of the channel and getting the exclusive content, like we said, it's only $3 to get in that entry level. It's the price of a soda in most places. And check it out. What are you going to lose? A couple bucks? But let me say this before we head out. One of the patterns here for Disney is that their movies that they are creating, they have far too much money invested in the production of these, far too much money invested in the marketing of these. They have far too much runtime as of late on these. The Little Mermaid was the shortest feature-length animated film of the Disney Renaissance, coming in sub 90 minutes. Now, it is the longest live-action remake. And that means as a percentage, it is by far the most increased runtime for any of these films. When Disney does this with children's content, children are unable to focus for long periods of time. They also have tiny bladders. And so when they make these runtimes long, not only do they limit the screens, but for children's content, they limit the ages that want to go see these films. Although Disney may consider themselves great artists and give their directors, writers, and everybody else the opportunity to set the own duration that they want, Disney really should reconsider this because they're hurting themselves. They're harming themselves. Imagine if this remake were only 90 minutes long. Well, in that case, they'd have much more in the way of opportunities to make money off of all of these screens, all of these showings, because there would simply be more of them. At 2 hours plus for a Little Mermaid film, it's just too much. And then you've got Indiana Jones doing the same thing, the longest in all the Indiana Jones films. Guardians, as much as I enjoy that film, too long. Could have used a cut of 15 minutes to 20 minutes off of it. And there are definitely places where the film didn't need some of those scenes. Disney's going to have to eliminate that in order to get back to steady profitability when it comes to the box office. Folks, thank you so much for all of those fantastic questions. Really appreciate it. Love doing this, like Jonas said. Jonas, before we head out, tell people where they can find you on this great, big, beautiful web out there.
Well, I'm a writer for That Park Place, and I'm also the co-producer. I'm selling myself short. I am the producer of The Pro Show, and also sometimes I get to be on Valiant Renegade's channel. I just like to point out that it seems to be that the rule is, I'm going to call this the inverse Jonah rule. The inverse Jonas rule. The more that you spend on making a movie, the less likely it's going to be good.
Oh, that's a good one, except for Avatar. Avatar seems to be going in the opposite direction of that. Yeah, it's questionable how good it was, but
when we amortize that out,
I think
when we amortize that out, there's the outlier for James Cameron.
Folks, as we head out, take one more picture, take one more gander at this photo. Mark Hamill sitting there again at Jabba's palace. We could have had this. We could have had Luke returning there. We could have had a talk between Luke and Boba Fett. We could have had the most awesome scene. We will not get to see it. It will not be seen because Kathleen Kennedy and the folks at Lucasfilm, they've cobwebbed Luke. They've determined that he is a cameo character only. We called it. That's why you come here. That's why you come to this channel. We try to break down entertainment, explain it, and get you ahead of the culture curve each and every day. If you like content like this, consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe. You can stick it to the algorithms when you click it. We're talking about that notification bell. We're done with the questions, but the comments, they begin now. Drop one down below and let us know what you think about all of this. And folks, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
Floral, it's time for you to walk the plank.
What? Why?
Cuz, you haven't subscribed to WDW Pro yet. Nor bookmark thatparkplace.com on your web browser to get great articles from great contributors.
What?